Girl, I don't know what's going on with today, but I mean, I just feel like there's so many redos and do-overs and turbulence and oh, wait, hold on, stop, double back. Well, I mean, even with my Airbnb was like,
Absolutely.
girl, with my Airbnb, and I mean, I know your dude almost felt like he was right for a second. Y'all shouldn't do that today. Um,
I know,
but
right?
like, I didn't want to give that any kind of credence. Like, no,
Fair.
oh no, we gonna get through this. But
Right.
then January 25th is like a quintuple full moon kind of effect. And I noticed it when I was driving, all the outrageous energies. Like even when this guy said to me, who claimed to be schizophrenic, right? And his girl was in the car. I mean, they were both like 55-ish. And he's like, man, I'm so drunk I could eat like a horse. I said, could you have like 4 New York slices? And then he looked at me, he's like, what's your name again? Kristen? Kristen, you don't look like you eat.
That's
And
funny.
I was,
You're like, thanks, friend.
I'm just like, this is some kind of outrageous theme going on today, where it was an outrageous transparency because somebody said something about my axle with my car. Check
Mm,
that. Somebody else had said something about, yeah, you could have totally made that turn right there. You don't hesitate. Don't be fearful. I'm like, dang, everybody calling me out today. Like, it was like that kind of energy last night. Like I felt like so illuminated, and I
mm,
think that is typically like kind of an energy of when the planets are aligning, you can see them in the sky, they're showing themselves,
right.
the energy will start to show out too. But all in all, with Airbnb, like it was so much turbulence with like I put so much intentional energy in making sure I leave a place the way that I found it or better, right? So you can imagine how frustrating it is
Right.
when somebody hits you up and says, "Hey, but you left this one little water spot on my couch, and it doesn't look like water. It looks like you had a dog, and it's urine. It's not water." And you know our policy, and that's going to be $100 fee. And I'm like, excuse me. I said, check your cameras because I know you have cameras. You're at Airbnb.
Right.
You all have cameras, right? And I said, check your cameras. And then they came back at me and they're like, oh, so, sorry, blah blah blah. And I'm like, they must have checked
Sorry.
the cameras, girl. They must have checked the cameras, like I said, because I called them out too. So it was my outrageous energy too, that was all about transparency as well. That actually got me not to have to pay no $100 fee for the water my kids spilled on the couch.
Good.
Okay, okay, so that's on like this energy has also been heavy with like wounds and purging, and so much has been coming up for me about like that nobody wants this energy, like feeling rejected, like all these rejection wounds, and even over like the last past week, I had to like go down a list of people to ask for help because I really was going
Mm,
through it. And a lot of these people were people that rejected me. So you can imagine how shameful it felt to have to ask them for help, for survival and stuff. It's just like, God, why put me through this? I don't feel like I'm not a humble person, but goodness, you're just taking the last bit of, whatever groundedness I have in myself, where I feel, any kind of little bit of pride that could be healthy pride. I felt
right.
like it's taking the last bit of that. Now, when I look back at these situations, I'm just going to feel shame, even though it was a time where I struggled and overcame. I'm going to look at it and see more shame than anything, because a lot of these people were people really that romantically or relationally in other ways, or were friends in the past, or repeat friends where I've had to ask multiple times, which is the most shameful thing for me, and only because I think I was groomed that way growing up, that
Right.
you have to ask for help this many times. What's wrong with you? How come you
Mm,
can't do it on your own? It's those self-talks that come up, and it's just, stuff like that. Like, even I just remember, even like with my sister, one time she had said to me when we were driving in the car, she was like, just look at you, you look the way you look, but you don't have anybody, you're still single. It must be because you talk too much, and it was just such a weird, it was like such a
mm,
backhanded weird compliment. It was like, wow, my sister thinks that I'm beautiful, but she also thinks I'm a loser, and
mm.
yeah. So, and this is that, and she's a Libra, it was the Libra energy where it was critical, but it was almost like she wanted justice for me, but in this weird way, made
Right.
it an insult where she was annoyed with me because I was trying to make conversation with her about stuff that she didn't care about. So she was annoyed by me. And she asked her boyfriend at the time, who's now her husband, to come with her, and he didn't want to come with her. So maybe she was taking out that frustration on me,
Of
that
course.
she felt rejected,
100,
that so maybe it's a rejection energy thing that keeps on continuing. Hurt people, hurt others.
100%.
And and then my best friend around the same time had said the same thing, something similar. And she was, I mean, she was dropping like it was hot, like people, she was too hot to trot. That's what I mean.
Well,
Too hot
I
to
mean,
trot,
it's a
fat ass.
projection. They're projecting.
Yeah, she had said to me, she's like, "You're just mad because nobody wants you." And she had the fake long hair and the titties that stood up, and the booty that stood up, and light
But
skin and
then,
all
I
that.
mean, but just with that, just with everything you just told me, to me, that screams super insecurity. One, she doesn't like who she is. Why? Okay, you and I, we talked about this the last time on the other video. You were like, I realized I was going about things in the wrong way. I'm doing this stuff with my hair that's not natural, and I'm trying to be someone that
Yeah,
I'm not. And so she's
yeah,
living in an existence where she's not even happy with herself, that she has to put on airs, and she's wearing these silky long, whatever it is on her back. It's not her true self, and she's not even happy with herself. So she's going to project that onto you because you're the closest target.
yeah. I mean, and really struggle with that friendship, and because everybody has their lights and their darks. Everybody's got their goods and
Absolutely.
their their strengths and their weaknesses, and when you are a college age person, you're really finding yourself. You're really learning like who you really are
I'm
without
still
your
finding
friends around.
myself.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Like most of us still, I mean, everybody really, I mean, even when you're a parent, you don't really know what you're doing. Everything is trial and error, which sucks for the kid because there's so much that they have to go through as a mistake from the parent. It's like, but we don't know everything.
No.
And we're superheroes, and we're still learning ourselves in the process of trying to teach our kids stuff that we're still learning about the world.
Yep.
Especially when you're 35 and over, I feel reality really hits you with your parents and the illusions that you were under about how perfect they were before 35. It's like there's something that happens with the brain where you're like, no, they're not perfect, and they're human like me, and they have trauma, and they're actually very imperfect, and there's a lot of stuff I don't admire, or
Yep.
there's some stuff I do admire, and can totally understand because of their trauma. And yeah, it's like you kindly finally reach a level of self-reflection where you
Yeah.
can see the world for what it actually is, not in some superhero inflated, you
Yeah.
know, disposition of your parent that you see because they did everything for you. So yeah, but I mean, I went through all that though. Like I've been going through this purging of just being like, nobody wants this. Like when my friend said that, I tried to look into my reality, and if my reality was proving her wrong, like, is that true? Nobody wants this. But then at the time, I mean, I think I got my first kiss at 19. I didn't get my first relationship till after college. I may have had talked to guys, in college that I didn't even see on campus, but met on MySpace who went to my campus. And it was like so like and
MySpace.
MySpace, yes. That's how old we are, right?
I know.
MySpace. I'm a millennial, obviously. Shit.
Millennials. Yay.
Yeah, MySpace. Yeah, and I had talked to this guy, and I just remember, there was a wound that happened with this whole situation in my first almost relationship in college, which was that there were others that I had to compete against. And I even felt that with my best friend, like she was trying to compete against me. People
Mm.
pulled me aside when she wanted me to do like this pageant, and they said, "Kristen, you see what she's doing? She's trying to show everybody that she's better than you." And that's the reason why she wants you to do it with her. Because what best friend do you know wants to compete against their best friend in the same pageant? That's what the rationale was. What best friend do you know would want to compete against their best friend? That's
That's interesting. I actually know two males. I used to live with both of them.
who competed all the time.
And the one of the individuals, he literally was like, "Yeah, you need to do this one too." And it was them competing against each other because he wanted to win.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
I mean,
mean,
but it's very obvious, and there's no hiding. Like he's just an interesting individual. But
but and that's what I'm saying. Like when we talk about, self-validation and all these purgings that we may be going through, a lot of it is about how are you going to validate yourself in spite of having these wounds that you still have to work through and purge and stuff. And when I think about the flip side and what has recently happened, in effect, Not all the outrageous stuff or all of the like injustice stuff or all of the wound stuff. But when I look at the flip side and what else has happened that has been a divine thing that has occurred, that's when I start to ground myself some more, and then all of those insecurities or wounds start to fade away a little bit more because I realize miracles are still there. In the
Absolutely.
midst of me asking all these people that I felt shame with,
Hmm.
people who I haven't seen for a while, or people who would see me down and out and still seeing me down and out, was just shitty. It's like, come on, man, I'm a phoenix rising. I'm like, God, can't you just keep me at the top? Why you gotta knock me
Right.
back down again?
Right.
Like, come on, man. Well, I
Yep.
want to be on winner status. I mean, keep me in the winner circle. Like, and I've gotten so much of that vibe of people like trying to like kind of imply that there's this loser status with me. Like, why are you always going through something? I have one girlfriend from college that will always say, Kristen, I know you can do more. You can do more. And you're like, my sister even asked, like, what are you doing now? And
Okay.
and what is she doing? Like, it's like, am I trying to keep up with somebody or something that I don't know about? Like, who and what am I trying to keep up with?
The keeping up with the Joneses. Yep.
All of that. But like I was saying, the divine stuff that has happened has been times where I didn't expect from somebody who was almost a stranger to me, who had gotten so deep into my soul, you know, somebody who I vibed with,
Yeah.
to randomly be that miracle person that just decided to have, a heart
Mm.
in such a way and bless me not once but twice.
Yeah.
And then it's that magic. And that magic, I'm reminded, oh, okay, this is a reality too, not the one
Absolutely.
that I've been living over and over and over again with these karmic people. There's another reality to be had that didn't happen before. So I think that's probably the January 25th timeline shift that's going on right now, even though the energies are heavy. That's what's emerging out of
Right.
it,
Right.
is more of that divine stuff that you would feel as a miracle that would only happen every now and then.
Hmm.
But it's maybe if you focus on it, or you have that intuition, or you have that fuzzy that's that feeling that says, hey, but maybe I'll go this way this time. Like, it was for me, it was a little whisper, maybe this will happen. And then there'll be that other voice that say, well, you don't know, but don't put all your eggs in that basket, like, you don't know, you
See,
know
that's what I always that's that well they call it the little devil on your shoulder, right? But I often, in my opinion, I see that as kind of like a self-concept issue, right? And Neville Goddard actually is one of the spiritual teachers that I read and study under, along with Dr. David Hawkins, who's a freaking genius.
genius,
He's
yeah.
like on the other side of the bell curve intelligence, like Mensa intelligence. Um, and they talk about self-concept and specifically Neville Goddard, and your subconscious is going to always prevail over your conscious. It doesn't matter what you want on the surface. If there's that underlying, well, you're not really, that's what's going to prevail. So
Yeah.
it's about kind of digging in and tweaking those little internal monologues that is your self concept, that is the subconscious thinking. And it's like I try to identify it in my book I'm writing, and it's like identifying it by that. When you do self affirmations, you're like, I am a multi-million dollar businesswoman. And then
Mm.
immediately, no, you're not. That's it. That's
Yeah.
the self concept. And that is what you have to work on, because that is that automatic negative Nancy that you don't want in there. But why is it in there? So it's about kind of following that little white rabbit down that rabbit hole and working on the negative mindset, which is not easy, especially if you have a lot of deeply rooted and deeply seated trauma from childhood. It's
Or
not
even
super easy.
or even repeated, experiences where it's like, come on, universe. Let's say, for
Right.
example, I'm approaching each experience like it's new and not like it's the baggage from the
Mm,
rejection that happened
mhm,
last
mhm.
week or 10 years ago or 5 years or whatever,
Right.
or on my last date. And now I'm heading into a new date with a blank slate, and then the same thing happens over and over and over again.
Right.
It's like, and I'm still showing up clean, like a clean slate, or exuding that energy that I'm a clean slate, and then the same thing happens. It's like, so some of us may validate that, because it's a repeated thing. And it's like, well, universe, what are you trying to show me? I'm trying to show up. I'm trying to show up, for real. Like I'm
Mhm.
showing up authentic, and I'm showing up not with as a wounded person, but I could still. I mean, everybody's wounded,
Right, right,
so I may not be wearing that as my representative. I'm not wearing wounds as my representative, but they're
right,
they're there.
right, of
But
course.
but then I'm still getting more and more wounded. So is it a subconscious thing? I mean, is that what that is? That's showing up, or is it a karma thing where we have soul contracts and we have contracts to go through certain things for,
Absolutely. I agree
you
with
know,
that.
and
Like,
I
yeah,
really feel like I've been on that path until now. And now it's like the magic is starting to really like ground itself more. And to
right.
piggyback off of what you're saying, Neville Goddard and all that, I started saying, okay, true love comes to me fast. True love comes to me easy. When true love comes, it comes to stay and it commits to me completely. It's
Mm,
like, we're rhyming, we're doing all that, and same thing with money. Money
yeah,
comes to me fast, money comes to me easy. When money comes, it comes to stay and grow exponentially.
right.
And so, and I noticed my reality it's starting to lift. Like I have a vehicle now. When at first, I was without a vehicle.
Right.
Um, and even though there may be some ebbs and flows, some things that are might be loose ends with that, I still have four wheels. So it's like, okay, I am seeing that whatever's going on in this timeline, it's like, it was like a little engine that could, okay, this and this and this and this, it's like, okay, okay, it's just very
Right.
like little engine that could,
Yep. I think I
like
can. Absolutely. Thomas. Thomas.
time in the Thomas the Train, yeah.
Thomas
But
the
it's
Tank
it's
Engine.
it's like it's almost inching us closer to, that dream reality, but it's not without, those little hiccups here and there to try and almost like emerge as that flower that's going through the seasons
Hmm.
or going or feeling the wind, it's still there. The petals may be fluttering, but
Right.
we're still here.
Right.
And yeah, so that's what's been going on. And, I just really have felt like even with driving, when I share myself sometimes, I'm like, I'm just, with the reactions that I get, or if I'm sharing, and I'm only sharing because the person shared first, and I
Mm,
try to watch out for social cues. I'm thinking about like if I how long I should be talking, I'm just the driver,
right.
and I only think I'm just the driver when the conversation trails and they head into their phones and nobody's listening anymore. But they started the conversation. And so then I'm like, oh right, yes, I'm just the driver.
Right. 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 Right.
So
Right.
just like that's what I am in the story. Like what does that mean to me? I felt there's been this theme of insignificance, where I feel, man, I felt insignificant because it's like, God, man, I wanted a breakthrough. And then you
Mhm.
gave me this rerun job again. And did you give me the rerun job again just so I could get the car for the meantime?
Or what if it's a second chance, right? What if
Yeah.
it's a redo? It's a
Yeah.
do-over. So, right? So here we are. We're gonna actually rewind. We're gonna hit the rewind button in case people are watching that don't know what a rewind button looks like, right? You hit rewind and it sets you back to the same place. So now you're in the same place and now you can make different decisions
Yeah.
and you can set yourself up for a completely different timeline. Maybe it is a completely different timeline. You have a better car, up-to-date car.
Yeah. I had to think of it like that until this girl yesterday said that something was wrong with the axle and the whole thing could fall apart.
Girl, don't let her no, don't let her plant those seeds though. Don't let her plant the seeds. Just go get it checked out. Don't let her
Yeah.
plant the seeds of the negativity because then you're gonna
Oh,
feed on it
you
and
know what? You know what I was even seeing through that? I was like, you know what? I don't know what could happen with this vehicle, but you never know when something is an opportunity for even something better. So
absolutely.
whether it needs to get fixed, whether it needs to be traded with another vehicle, the one I actually manifested. Um, so I was using like you were saying, and
Yeah,
and like I also kind of know to do, try to transmute that energy into an opportunity.
absolutely.
So exactly.
I
And then
agree.
sometimes you really do just need to feel the feels of the moment of whatever low vibe insecurity you might have just to purge that out, that
Mhm.
sometimes everything isn't okay, and sometimes maybe I do need to cry right now because
Absolutely.
my inner child is crying and saying, but I feel hurt and I feel pain and I feel rejected and I don't want to ignore that anymore. Because my inner child is saying, I've gathered enough, rejection energy over the years and I don't feel you acknowledge it enough. That you're
Mm,
walking around with this open wound sometimes
yeah.
and ignoring it when with passengers, with anything random, even with my kids sometimes maybe,
Mm,
I hate you today or whatever, and
right.
and then and with past family situations where it's just like, at the end of the day, I can say that I'm estranged because they didn't appreciate me, they don't value me. And to walk around with those wounds, not just there, but in relationships and even friendships. And I have too many stories. It's like, well, dang, that's every angle. So
Right.
when we talk about not applying, self-talk and trying to validate reality, because we don't really know what the energy is, we're really not sure. We are theorizing and guessing that it's because nobody wants this. Nobody wants this, that this is happening to me, and that could be a low place because there's been too many times that idea has been validated in my 3D reality,
Oh yeah. I completely understand that. A couple months ago, I was crying on the phone to my sister in New Zealand, and I was like, I saw this person, this friend of mine, and all of a sudden, poof, they're getting married, poof, and all these people are getting married. And
Mm,
I'm like, I've never even had this once,
yeah.
right? Not once. And I'm like, but here all these people are that just kind of like, da, 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 and they just kind of walk through life and, oh, they just propose. Like, what? How? Whoa,
Yeah.
what?
And it could feel so hard for you, for your reality to meet up with that. It was like, why does it feel so impossible for me? It's just like you know what? When my sister said that to me about, well, look at you, there's got to be something wrong. You must talk too much. That's why you're single. And I was 19. I was 19 at the time. She was 23 or 24.
You're single and not married because you're 19.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, I must, yeah. And I remember I'm like, am I 19? Or like, what was a max of 21? But
right.
definitely
And see,
19.
that's a whole societal thing too. And just even and now that I'm thinking, after speaking about it and you speaking about it, how we wrap up our self-worth in a relationship when it has nothing to do with that, any kind of relationship,
Yeah.
friendships, family, romantic relationships. And it has nothing to do with your self-worth, but how society really pushes that onto people. And they're like, oh, I remember seeing a video. Somebody was like, oh, he hasn't asked you to marry him and it's been 6 months. And I'm like,
Girl, even in the
what?
beginning.
Like,
Yeah.
this person has known that you've existed on the planet for 6 months and you expect them to ask you to marry them? Are you insane? Which also then rolls over into, I don't know, everyone, the divorce rate, like
Yeah.
65% of people get divorced or something crazy. I wonder why. Because you expect them to propose in 6 months of knowing that you breathe air.
Those must be people like, because I can somewhat relate only if I have been waiting on somebody for 10 years. Like I
Okay, yeah,
will,
that 10 years.
that's
All right.
different.
You know what? That's
I'm
fair.
like, God, come on, man. Like again, let's get it back up to that winner's circle. I
Yeah.
know I paid the dues from being so patient. I didn't pressure anybody really.
Yeah.
I
No.
I spoke and said what I wanted when I felt those feels there. Like, come on, man. I
Yeah.
mean, are you
10
third party?
years. I'll give you that one. That's fair.
That after that, maybe the next person within 6 months, maybe that could happen. Because I mean, shit, I think I got a lot of practice in those 10 years of how to be a patient, loving, nurturing, caring, self-loving too
Facts.
individual in the emotional distance that I had in that relation that I was able to endure.
Right.
And now I don't need to endure. I can be more proactive. I can find a proactive partner that is willing to meet me now. And maybe, just
Absolutely.
maybe, they've been in something similar where the readiness could happen in 6 months if the energy is right. So I wouldn't push it. I would be open minded that, you know what, that's a wild dream. That
It is possible. I think it is
possible,
possible. Yes.
possible, but I wouldn't be in the state of expectation.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't be.
Absolutely not. Yeah. And
But however, if you're manifesting, I know, right? If you're manifesting it and like if you're saying like me, true love comes to me fast, true love comes to
yeah.
me easy, blah, 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 blah,
True
blah.
romantic love.
True romantic love. Yes, if I'm saying that and things start just happening like magic, like they were
Hmm.
and like they are,
Hmm.
and that's also in this timeline because January has been a hell of a month. I mean, I feel like January has felt like it's 2 months in one.
January is always the 5 months long.
I'm
Oh,
like, I've never had so many tests in 1 month. I'm like so spent. I'm like, I need to win the lottery right after just so I could just be a couch potato for 3 months. It's been a lot.
yeah. Please
You
win the lottery.
Girl, like, yeah, you already know. Hey, I got your number and your address. Okay.
Please
I
win the
got you.
lottery. I'm ready to move and like have a farm or something. Yeah.
Girl, we be neighbors.
There we
And
go.
I buy you land. We have matching land.
We were
And
looking at places in Italy, these beautiful villas that are under 500,000.
wow. Yeah. I mean,
Beautiful
that's, hey,
villa.
it's less than Washington, D.C.
Oh my God, yes.
Real estate. So,
Holy crap. I remember he was looking close to my mom's house in North Arlington. We were walking and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna look at the houses," because there were some houses for sale that were like two streets down. And they were just, like a regular house, like you draw when you're five, a box with a triangle, and there's like four windows, right? So it's like a two-story with a triangle on top, attic. And I think he and I both were expecting to see a price tag of like maybe 1 million, right? Because of the location, right?
right.
Girl, that house was $2.4 million.
Oof.
And it was a regular box with a triangle with four windows, right? Just a brick house, North Arlington, right up the street. It's on Washington Boulevard, right up the street from um the metro. So you got metro there. So that just cha-ching, cha-ching, the
That,
location,
yeah, the
location,
Metro
location.
does it. It's that Metro real estate where it
They had,
just,
I remember when they were building these townhouses, and I always use this as like a little a marker for how the prices have just gone crazy sometimes in that area. They were building right across the street from the metro in Falls Church, not even Arlington. And they were all townhouses, and this was maybe 15 to 17 years ago. And they started at 800,000 and they all sold before they were even finished building them. And that was like 15, 17 years ago. It just
yeah.
boggles my mind right across the street from the metro.
Wow, girl. That's, yeah. I mean, that's crazy. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's
And then I
something that,
moved to Atlanta and I see this. I saw like a video on the news of some guy who was freaking out. He's like, this house is $500,000. That's insane. Like, he's like, how could you jack the prices up? And I'm like, up? And it was this huge house and it was all brick. And I was like, that's so cheap. It's just so interesting seeing like going from one area to another. And I think the beauty that comes from being in a place, growing up in a place like DC and being born and raised there, seeing what it's like there and prices, and then going
yeah.
almost anywhere else in the country and being like, wow, this is great.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, because it's like the second or first, well, it's the second most richest area in America. And
Yeah, I think, what is it for
Fairfax
Fairfax
and
County?
Loudon. Both Fairfax
Loudoun
and Loudon. It's
County.
like one and
Yeah, yeah,
two.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like the richest county in the United States.
Yeah. And you know what? You know what's so crazy in college? I don't think I even really talked to people that much. They saw my Facebook. And they would, one guy would come up to me in particular, it was a black male who would say, I know what county you're from, and I know you're rich. I'm like,
Oh,
all of these, all of my melanated community people pegged me as some sedity bitch, man. And I mean, I didn't even get the chance to really open my mouth before people judged me. It was just like, I know you're rich. And it's like, what does that have to do with anything? Do you even know me?
right.
I felt so this is part of my wounding too. I'm like, so many times I felt like people don't really see me, and then they judge me. I'm like, gosh,
Mhm.
I have too much intentional energy. So the inner child thing for me, and I see the time, good. For me was that I have so much intentional energy to be so righteous with stuff. And when I say righteous, I mean like balanced and to purpose. Like I think
Right,
about shit that
right,
I want to change and impact for the better. And then people will come with me with all this judgment and all this injustice energy. And I'm just like, no, you got the wrong one.
right.
So it's just been so many times of like, just being in a space where I feel like, God, I deserve so much better. Like, come on, universe, come on, reality. Like, meet me, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Shit, I'm
absolutely.
overdue.
Yeah, catch up with me, bro. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like, no, I've been conscious. Shit, I've been conscious for a while now, like,
That's true.
and compassion and kind and all that stuff. And I think it's important for people to validate themselves in the reality that they know. Like, mind you, I have a self-convicting spirit. I know I'm not perfect, and I also know that I have areas that I need to work on and do self-reflection or admit it in conversation when I'm venting about
Right,
something
right,
that,
right, right.
you know
Absolutely.
what? I did this. This is what happened. I feel this kind of shitty way. Like this made me feel this way, and I recently just went through that. And I feel like, it's moments like that that help you really see yourself for what's really there, and what you're working through and where you potentially want to head as a result. So, I think that's where I'm at with that, and that just trying to mature more in relationships and not being
Yeah.
like so extreme, because Pisces, like we typically are very like all or nothing and don't value the gray. It's like, because so many times when I've given my all, it's like, well, now I'm getting nothing.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. A girlfriend of mine pegged me for the same thing when I was on Oahu with her. And she's like, you have that extreme gene, all or nothing. Like
You have
me,
that? No,
me,
I thought you were gray.
you see? And that's the thing. Like, and I was like, bodybuilding, that's not normal, right?
Yeah, it
That's
isn't
not normal.
normal. No, no,
It's like I have to
bodybuilding.
go, it's like balls to the wall. I have to push myself to the ultimate extreme to just test myself. And it was a test for myself. So that absolutely, I can see that for extreme. My healing after my injury on set, I was like, why aren't you healed yet? It's been 6 weeks, bro.
Oh
Like,
no.
I'm like, I
We got to be
expect
more compassionate
perfection.
with our. Yeah, we got to be more compassionate with ourselves. No, I'm right there with you. I didn't mean to cut you off. Like, I'm right there with you. I do the same thing too. I'm like, dang it. I wanted to work out today, but now I have to rest. Dang it. I failed today. It's like, it's that voice, like, I failed. I didn't do my workout. Like, I'm not gonna
Bite-sized
like,
pieces, right?
yeah, but we also are former bodybuilders, like, women's figure, not the really, really,
Not
work,
like complete, like,
like all of that, but geez, it's a gritty sport though, and it can also make you gritty in life too and beat you up over little things
Oof.
because of being heavily
Oh
scrutinized
my gosh.
and not even.
Yes. Were you worse? So I had like a whole self-image thing before, but after bodybuilding,
I definitely had it worse
I was
afterwards.
worse too.
And I was in this relationship with another bodybuilder, and the things he would be saying to me after I got off stage, it just made me feel so like fat. Yeah. And it was
What?
my first.
After you got off stage?
Yeah, I mean, because then he's like, you eating. You don't need to be eating after this time. You just gonna wear it the next day. You eating, and I mean, and I was, I
So,
was
yeah, you're
eating.
gonna wear it the next day. So what?
But I was, I mean, I guess in my own body and in my own skin, I would have liked to just slowly and gradually gotten back to a normal weight months after, not weeks later. You see, what felt like weeks later was
Right.
like.
Girl, days. Remember in
Yeah, well,
Vegas?
that's what, it wasn't just you. I'm thick. I'm naturally thicker, than you.
Yeah.
And, my muscle base is always there. And I remember my coach saying to me, you only have really a day and a half of cheating before it's just gonna blow up. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I could see that though, because that's fair. I remember,
A day and a half, girl. Yeah. That's
yeah.
like Ruth Chris. You going out to the dinner, Ruth Chris, and then what? You gonna have a grilled cheese and all this other crazy stuff the next day, fries and pizzas and all that. The next day for half a day, that's it. Then you blowed up already. Good Lord, that's
I
no.
gained so much weight in water weight
Yeah.
in Vegas. I
Ooh,
looked amazing the day
you
after
did.
because I
You
ate
did.
and ate and ate that night. And then the next
Um,
morning I was like, boom. I was like, oh, look at all these, look at my striations. And I looked great the next morning. But then that day I remember we went to the Caesar's Palace brunch, and there were some rather portly women that were sitting catty corner to my mother and I, and they were just watching me plate after plate after plate after plate, and I'm just like, and they were like, "Where are you putting all that food?" I'm
yeah.
just like, dude, I haven't eaten this kind of food in like 6 months, bro. Just let me be. I think I had like 10 plates of food, ridiculous,
Mm,
and then I was just like, I was squish,
dang. Yeah. I
absolute
mean,
squish.
and then it's uncomfortable. I mean, for
It
me,
is.
like. I think I just naturally have legs. Like I don't really gain weight in my belly. I'll say that. I know most people do. I was a 9 pound baby. I gain if you're after 8 pounds, you mostly gain it in your legs. Okay.
Mm,
That's what it says when you're born, right? And that's true for
wow.
me. And so then there were times where I could feel my legs rubbing together, and that just was the most unsavory feeling in the world to feel those things rub together, especially when I was going through the bulking phase of bodybuilding. I'm like,
Yeah.
God damn. And then my coach would say, "That's just the fat pushing out from the cells." And I was like, whatever it is. Whatever it is, you could tell I felt self-conscious with each step, and I just don't ever want to live that again.
I have
And
never had a thigh gap my whole life.
I'm not even saying thigh gap. I'm just saying like if you have thick muscles
Yeah, the
and
tops of
and
your
that,
thighs just stay here and they just go like
and
that.
then they're rubbing and stuff. Now I have a bit of a gap. I have a little bit of a gap in it, or they touch like they're supposed to, but they don't rub. You see, they touch, they don't rub. Now you see the difference is like rubbing is like these two turkey legs.
No, mine have always at the top, always rubbed. And I
Yeah,
hate, and that's why I hate like I hate wearing shorts because they
shorts.
just do
Yeah.
this.
And then the shorts come up a little
They
bit
go up,
more. I'm
up,
like, I
up, and
can't,
then if
girl.
you
I'm right there
can't,
with you. I don't do the minis. I mean, there was a time I did, like when I ate one meal a day. I mean, who want to do all that? I wasn't doing it to wear a mini. I was doing it because my stomach was small. But yeah. And I mean, even my dad said something weird to me about that. I'll never forget that. It's like, oof. Yeah.
my dad said something weird to me once before, obviously before he passed away, but like he had dementia. He was going
Um,
downhill. So
that's, yeah,
I'll
that's,
give him that.
give him that. Yeah, give him
Yeah,
that.
because he
I
was
can't give
not
mine that.
well. Yeah. And he was
Yeah, my
like,
dad was like, you look
oh,
good in that mini skirt though.
that's what my dad said. It wasn't a mini skirt, it was just a dress. And my sister snapped at him like
Oh,
instantly.
that's good. You know, that's a good older sister. My sister has done stuff like that too.
Yeah. She was like,
Yeah.
Dad. And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
but I was
yeah,
like, he's just so
it's
I couldn't feel any kind of way really just because I knew his emotional and mental state.
yeah. I mean, that's
But
girl, it's sad, and it all goes to wounding too. Like whenever any kind of person close to you, especially if it's a male figure, comments on your body as
yeah,
well.
it's very uncomfortable. Yeah.
But yeah, it's uncomfortable. Your inner child can cry out like, "Oh, I can't trust this.
Yep.
I can't trust this person."
Yep. Yep.
You
And it's
know, I
always,
don't.
and coaches, bodybuilding
Ooh,
coaches,
can be predatory.
and
Girl, you don't have to tell me twice, not once. I mean,
even martial arts instructors. Like, I was always like, please just be that instructor, and
yeah,
I have had those, which I am so grateful for. They're fathers and they show up that way and they are that way. And not once are they like, hey, like that means so much to me and my inner me, right?
yeah,
Instead of like bodybuilding coaches. I remember one and I was like, this is cool because he's married. Yay. He's got a family. Yay. And then I was like, this one that feels funny how he just said that. That was weird. Like, and I'm like, just please have that integrity for me just once. And it has
yeah.
happened. So I am grateful for that.
Girl, yeah. Like I'm totally there with you with that. But this has been great. I want to see what the new timeline looks like. This is, it's been a lot of purging.
It'll be good.
So
It's going to be an amazing year.
I believe that.
Always good things for us both, no matter what.
Absolutely. I'm calling it.
You're calling it as of
Girl,
today, right now.